Hi, as promised, I'm back to show you how to turn your shortbread that you will have made in the shortbread recipe, which is just here, into Millionaire's shortbread. So if you found this video first and you think, yes, I would like to make some Millionaire's shortbread, you need to click back onto our shortbread workshop. Make the base, which will give you, this is just out the oven, make the base, which will give you this lovely shortbread base for your Millionaire shortbread, and then click back on to this workshop to put the caramel sauce. We'll be doing the caramel sauce and the chocolate topping. So I'll let you decide where you are with that. But I'm Michelle from Boozy Bakers, and this is how to make a caramel sauce. Now, there are different ways of doing this. You can use cream and butter with sugar, or you can use condensed milk. Now, I prefer to use a condensed milk myself. So for this recipe, you're going to need one tin of condensed milk. That's 397 grams. You're going to need 120 grams of brown sugar and 120 grams of butter. And then for the chocolate, I've got 200 grams of milk chocolate, but you can use dark chocolate if you prefer. Now, because I'm not on my normal gas hob, I'm on my electric one, this is notoriously slow. So I've actually put the temperature on first. So it's a bit steaming. It's giving me some kind of spa treatment as I'm going here. So it may sizzle as I put things in. You don't need to do that if you're working on gas or you have a better cooker than me. But for the purpose of this, I just wanted to speed it up. So we're going to put 120 grams of the butter into a pan. Oh, it's not too bad, sizzling a bit there. And we're going to add 120 grams of brown sugar. And lastly, we're going to add the condensed milk. So that's 397 grams of condensed milk. Just make sure I've got it all out. Lovely. And then we just need to keep stirring that. So I'm going to just bring the handle around so that I can hold it. Now this is going to be boiling with the sugar. So I do recommend being really careful if you're doing this with kids. Keep a really close eye because it really hurts when you catch yourself. But you need to stir all that together until all the sugar's dissolved. And you'll have a light brown kind of, you'll see it's a bit caramelized very quickly, but we're going to keep cooking it until, I'm going to turn my temperature up a bit now, until it has become more golden in colour and a bit thicker. So keep stirring that in. I've actually got a big lump of butter that I need to get out. But you can see at the moment, it's very thin, it's pouring off. It's too thin for a caramel sauce. We wouldn't want that. So very carefully, just keep stirring it. Sorry, I've got one bit of butter that's escaped my attention and it's quite solid. So I'm just going to try and break that up, give it more surface area. So I'm going to turn the heat up. Once it's all dissolved and all you can't see any sugar and it's all combined, you need to turn the heat up. And we're going to let this boil for a few minutes, good few minutes. It's not boiling yet, so we'll start at that time when it's reached that point. But do stir continuously and make sure that it doesn't catch on the edges. You don't want any burnt bits in the caramel. Now my other pan is to do the chocolate. So whilst I'm stirring, I will let you know there's no rush on this. You don't need to try and multitask with the pans because what we're going to do first, once we've got the caramel to our liking, we're going to pour that onto the shortbread and start to let it set. And then I would suggest you do your chocolate. But so you're not watching me for ages and ages and ages, I'm just going to show you what I've done. It's a pan. It's got about a third full with some hot water. And then I'm going to place a glass. This is a heat-proof touch the water. It's really important that you don't let the bowl touch the water. So hang on, we've got a child, which is just in need of some help. Mr. Boozy Bakers has just gone to help her. I think he might have a loose tooth. A baby tooth, it's okay. No accidents did occur. So I'm going to just keep stirring the caramel, and meanwhile I've got a little bit of heat onto the electric pan hob, and that is basically steaming the chocolate into a melting point, and that avoids the chocolate catching and burning. So I don't actually need to do anything with that yet, other than just leave it steaming on top of, but not touching the hot water. So I'm going to turn this up a bit more. As I said, I've got quite a poor electric hob. It's not the best. Right, there we go. Right, let's get this going. So there's a lot of stirring, and if I do too much stirring, I might have to edit this video and fast forward it through all the stirring part. But whilst I have your attention and we are all stirring along, just to say that we have lots of baking videos. We'll be doing more and more of these. But if you want to have a go, most of our workshops are filmed with a live online audience baking along with us every Saturday at 2. So you will find that I'm answering questions from people as I go along. And hopefully if you've got any questions, I'll have answered them inside of that. So typical questions, trying to think of what people would normally ask me. Is it okay to use a different kind of butter? Yes, I think you'll be fine to use a different kind of butter or spread or dairy-free alternative with this. You should be fine to do that. Same goes for the chocolate. If you want to use a free-from, you can. Quite frequently I get asked about substituting sugar. No, I wouldn't with this. It is what it is. If you don't, to be honest, if you're not into sugar, you probably don't want a caramel anyway. So some of the other workshops we've done all sorts. We've got a really good biscuit recipe, which is a nice one to keep in the fridge and pull out when you want a biscuit. We've got pizza making, that's been really popular, a tea loaf, bread loaf, soda bread for those of you that don't have any bread flour in the house. That's a nice quick and easy one. We've done olive bread, ricotta pancakes, highly recommend that for a brunch. I'm just going to stop there talking and just let you know my mixture has started. I can feel it kind of setting in the sides. So just make sure you get the spoon really into that the pan to stop it from sticking. Right, back to workshop. What else have we done? Scones or scones, depending on how you pronounce them. And cinnamon buns. If you have ever wanted to have a go at making your own cinnamon buns, we have a fantastic, pretty quick recipe to do those. And cheesecake and carrot cake and red velvet whoopie pies. There is so many on there. So please do take a look, and please do subscribe to Boozy Bakers. We love having you following us and taking part, and we love to hear from you as well. So do send through your photos. If not on YouTube, then find us on Facebook under Boozy Bakers, and you will see our Boozy Baker logo on our page, and send us what you've done. Right, so my caramel sauce is starting to thicken. It's attempting to set at the bottom, so I'm going to make sure that I keep stirring. I'm seeing the odd bubble coming up now. I'm afraid I can't show you very easily, so I'm going to have to describe a lot. But very quickly, you can see that sauce is still quite thin, bit thicker, but not enough at the moment. We want this to set so that when we pour it over the shortbread and cut it up, it slices. So I now have quite a few bubbles. So just keep making sure that you're stirring consistently. I can feel that trying to stick to the bottom. So constantly running the spoon around the base of the pan, in the edges and in the center, just making sure that nothing stays for too long and being cooked to a point that it burns. But it's now furiously boiling at me. So now, whilst trying to make sure that it doesn't stick to the base of the pan, I'm also looking for it to change consistency and colour. So it should start to thicken and it should start to go a deeper, more golden caramel colour. So I'm just going to keep stirring for a good 4 to 5 minutes. That's 4 or 5, not 45. Yeah, you don't want it to spit up it. You be really careful. You don't want this to touch your skin at all. Avoid any accidents. Just be really gentle with it because boiling hot sugar is not fun. So just make sure that if any children are doing this, they're supervised. I'd really recommend an adult to do this part. Let them do the shortbread. And even pouring on the chocolate later on is good. But I would certainly say leave this bit for the grown-ups because we don't want to hurt any little sensitive hands. So I'm going to keep going. It's bubbling furiously now at me, and I can see that it's probably dropped a little bit in level where some of the moisture's evaporated. So that will help with thickening the sauce. It's starting to go a slightly deeper colour of brown, not much. So I'm just going to keep going. You know, you think of baking as eating too much sweet stuff, but actually we're really exercising parts of our bodies here. So I think it balances it out. All right, just do it for a couple more minutes. But I'm not letting it set at all at the bottom. It's going to have to be moved around. There we go. Oh, it's hot in this kitchen at the moment. So we've actually got more shortbread in the oven. So we've got plenty. This will cover enough for the one tray. So the tray, you'll have hopefully done the shortbread workshop, but you've got a nice size tray there of shortbread. So this will be enough to cover that amount of shortbread and give a nice depth to it. And then once this is made, we're going to need to leave it to set for a minute before we can pour the chocolate on. Chocolate, I don't tend to do that too deep. I like the chocolate to be able to sit just thin layer on top. So not too much chocolate, just enough. It's a very naughty treat, but so delicious. And they will last a couple of weeks if you store them in an airtight container. Yeah, I've got a real volcanic. It's still quite thin, but I can see where it starts to cool, it will thicken. But on top, it's kind of almost reached like a foamy, bubbly level. So I'm quite confident that this is nearly ready. I will show you, when I've poured it into the tin, I will show you what mine looks like. But where it is so hot, it won't really thicken yet because it's obviously it's very fluid with the heat. But I can see that the levels come down, and I can feel it's trying to thicken. There's a lot of descriptions going on. It'll make more sense if you've got this in front of you, I'm sure. So for anyone new to Boozy Bakers, we do have a shop that you can buy things from. We do have a few kits, and you're always welcome to ask us questions, and we will try and answer as best we can for you. Right, my spoon is now creating like a tail. It's kind of like I can see the caramel kind of following it around. I'm kind of creating a little mini tornado in here. You can see the kind of spirals of caramel where it's following the spoon round. So that's kind of a sign that it's thicker. You can see the trail of the pattern that I'm creating with the spoon. It couldn't do that in a really thin liquid. So I'm quite happy that that is done. So I'm going to turn the heat off of that. And I'm just going to raise it for a minute because obviously it's electric. It's going to keep the heat in that. And I'm just going to keep stirring for a minute. Obviously, if you have gas or some other kind of hob that takes the heat away instantly, you won't have to lift your pan, or you could set it aside. Unfortunately, I have not got the means. I haven't given myself means. I suppose I could put it on the tea towel actually, but I'm quite good, and it will just allow me to show you without it pouring out. It's going a bit more viscous. It's still thin, but it is more viscous on the whole. And I'm just going to stir that for a minute. I'll sit back down again. In fact, you know what? I am going to just rest it on my tea towel where it's safe. It's not going to melt my top because that's wood, but I'm just going to stir it off the heat just to make sure I'm happy with the consistency. But it is a more dark brown that you would associate with a caramel. And I can see that whilst it's running off the spoon, it is getting that little bit thicker, where it's just the surface is getting a bit cooler already. I can see there's less liquid in here from where we started. So I'm happy with that. Now, enough of me talking. I'm going to put the shortbread in the center here so you can see. Ooh, let's make sure. This has got handles, so I'm just going to move this over actually a little bit. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to show you that I'm going to pour this caramel over the top of the shortbread. And it should find its way to the corners anyway. But if it doesn't, you can always help that along. Just with the back of my spoon, I'm just spreading it out a little bit. Just making sure that it's nicely set. But that is looking beautiful. I think you can see that. Right, I'm just going to rest that on a tea towel over there so that nothing burns. And then whilst that sets, I'll try and bring it more so you can see that setting in front of me. I'm going to just check on my chocolate. Again, if you've done your caramel, you can just start on the chocolate now. It doesn't need to be something you do in advance, but just so that I can show you quickly. But all this can wait. You could wait a good hour or two before you put any chocolate on the caramel. It's not an immediate task because you don't want the chocolate to sink into that caramel sauce. You want it to sit nicely on top. So I'm probably rushing this a little bit. If I was filming it away and not live, I would definitely give it a bit longer. But I been rather busy in the kitchen and I wanted to film these, and downloading seemed to take quite a while. So I thought we would go live. And then if any of you want to chat to me, you are more than welcome. I think I can just about see your comments from where I am. I said usually we have Mr. Boozy Baker behind the camera taking questions when we go live on Facebook, and that works quite well. Today I've got the laptop instead of the phone working, and I can see myself, I can see what you're seeing, which is quite helpful actually. So that, having sat on top of the water, is now nicely melted. Try not to catch yourself with the steam when you take that off. So I'm going to turn the temperature off of that as well. They're both off now. And this just needs to be cool enough to put the chocolate on top. I'm going to try it, but I think it might. You know what? I could probably do it. Let's go for it. But I don't want to, obviously it's not set, so move it around too much on unset caramel. So I'm going to have to hope. I wouldn't advise this. I really would let your caramel set first before putting the chocolate on. But to expedite things, let's go for it. So, kind of, when things go wrong live, I'm probably going to make that happen. But, you know, it'll be all right. Oh, it's going to be all right. The top will set quite quickly on your sugar. Sorry, I've gone a bit headless now. I've stood up, but I don't want to catch myself on the pans. I'm trying to do things in a small area. Normally I'd be at my cookery station with everything in front of me and plumbed in and everything. So you can see that I'm covering. If you wanted to add some white chocolate to this and marble it, you could. You can add fudge pieces to the top, whatever you choose to do. But this works fine for me. And as I said, I don't want a really thick layer of chocolate on it. It's just, you just want that top bit done. And once you've covered it, you can put this on the side to cool down a bit. You can put it in the fridge if you need to, but the side should do the trick, to be honest. I'm just going to scrape out the last bit of chocolate. So 200 grams of chocolate really is enough for the amount of Millionaire shortbread you're making. There we go. Oh, just one bit to cover. So if you're doing this with children, if you let your chocolate cool down a bit and you're applying it to cooled caramel, it's quite a good little one for them to do. And of course you can move it around on set caramel without it all being pushed around. I'm just very impatient to show you how to do it. So there we go. You have got nice Millionaire shortbread. You need to leave that now for it all to set. Give it a couple of hours for that caramel to become a caramel that you can then cut up along with your shortbread and your set chocolate on top. So if you can put it in the fridge for a bit if you want to, or just leave it on the side and enjoy. Right, I'm hot. I feel like I've had a spa treatment with the amount of steam coming up here. So I am going to take a break now and leave you all to it. But thanks very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much. When Mr. Review Bacon works out how to press end.